This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Monday, September 19th, 2016. Happy birthday, Melissa. The title of this rant is from Dr. Paul Krugman's article in the New York Times the same day, Vote as if it matters. And I would say, because it does. So right now, the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson, in a four-way race with Hillary, Trump, and I believe it's Jill Stein, is getting about 29% of the millennial vote. And Dr. Krugman is pointing out, and I wholeheartedly agree with, it's nice that, this guy's an outsider, he's not an established candidate, but do you really even know exactly what he stands for, what the Libertarian platform actually stands for? So here's an example. Well, one example I always like to make is if you read the Republican platform and then you read the Democratic platform, you don't really have to worry about who you're going to vote for because you'll know what those people stand for based on what's in that platform. And of course, if you read the Libertarian platform, and Dr. Krugman points out that here are some of the things that old Gary Johnson is in favor of. No environmental protection agency, no income tax, no public schools, no Social Security, no Medicare, all of that kind of stuff, strong defense, etc. But that's in their platform. That's what they want. And of course, Dr. Krugman is saying, hey, look at who this guy really is. Now, one other thing about Gary Johnson is that, hey, if you got a problem with clean air in your area and there's no EPA, there is a solution. All you have to do is take, the big polluter to court. That's how it's all going to get resolved. That's how I could go in and get resolved the whole thing, and et cetera, et cetera. And but if it comes down to a two-way race, meaning that let's just forget about Jill Stein, let's just forget about Gary Johnson. If it's just a two-way race, a vast majority of those millennials go straight to Hillary. And what Dr. Krugman is imploring, and I am imploring also, is, hey, this is a very important election. It is an extremely important election. And just because someone is a little bit out of the mainstream, is not an establishment candidate, doesn't mean they aren't a whack-dillio, whack-birdio, or whatever you want to call him. Because this Gary Johnson guy, his platform blows. All right? And of course, I'll just go into the Trump platform real quick. You often know people by who they hang around with, and of course, all of Trump's economic advisors are their sole purpose in life in terms of their economics is to decrease taxes on the rich. And if you looked at what Trump came out with just a couple days ago, I believe that it would cost the United States $4 trillion in terms of his tax cuts, which were mostly to the rich. Now, Hillary has come out with a progressive platform, a more progressive platform than has ever been out by the Democratic Party. And as he said, this election matters. Now, the last time we had a third-party candidate that that actually did make a difference, completely made a difference, was when Ralph Nader ran in 2000. Now, there were a couple of things Ralph Nader said, and I remember it very, very vividly. He basically said, hey, you put Bush and you put Gore up to each other, and they're both the same. They're both corporatists. Well, I would like to say, no. They may both have corporate dealings, but one is fucking completely in the tank to every corporate entity out there, meaning Bush. And Al Gore knows that he has to line himself up with a little bit with them, but he is for very progressive values. And of course, he has shown that since then, as he has been at the forefront in terms of the global climate change. And of course, I remember Rush Limbaugh saying that, he's trying to get rid of, the piston engine, 100 years of the piston engine. I can't remember the exact term of that. But look what's going on right now. By the year 2035, they say there will not be any more gasoline engines. Tesla has taken off. GM is coming out with more. All of the major companies are coming out with hybrid cars. And there's going to be a whole combination because we're going to test it out in the marketplace. So, and of course, what also happened was that in Florida, Jeb Bush, with Catherine Harris, who was, I don't know, whatever her position was, basically went in and dropped people from the voter registration rolls because they had similar last names or claimed, or people who had felonies, that everyone with a similar last name to that person all got dropped from the voter registration. And that, plus Ralph Nader, who took up almost 7% of the vote in Florida, is why Bush came into office. And remember, when Bush came into office, I will just bring up two quick things here, is that number one, he ran the presidency as if he won with a landslide right from the start. Remember, they had that emergency energy hearing, and everyone wanted to know who the hell was in on it because there were no environmental companies in on it. There wasn't anything in there in reference to the Kyoto Accords. Remember, he dropped the Kyoto Accords right away also. And then they were sued, and what was Cheney's famous line? The Americans want to turn on their switch at any time and not have to worry about anything. Of course they do. But at the same time, you can make it with renewables. And they steadfastly wanted to drill. They wanted to get back into Iraq. They wanted to seize the oil, so to speak. And that turned out to be a cluster F, whatever it is, completely all over the place. And remember also, he didn't even give a shit about any type of terrorist action. He had the famous August 6th thing, bin Laden to use planes to attack U.S. And he poo-hooed it to the CIA guy, whoever brought it up to him, and of course a month later. And of course, he spent a month in Texas, and that wasn't the first time he'd been to his Texas ranch. He'd already been there a couple months since he'd been in, and then we were already talking about that being a failed presidency in August of 2001, before 9/11. So all of this has happened, but the main point of all of this is, hey, this election really matters. And to millennials, it really matters to you quite a bit also. Because Donald Trump will take us back from everything that we've been progressing for the last 8 years, and it will not be pretty.